Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Soul Sync podcast. It's me, Jason Paul, and I'm back. Now, I know what a lot of you might be thinking. Where have you been, Jason? Well, I've been here, there, and everywhere. I did think about recording for a moment, but then I remembered that Mercury was in retrograde, and obviously I want to respect chaos when it's astrologically justified. Obviously. But in all seriousness, I've been running all over the place, trying to contain things at my business, which has been absolutely bloody full on. I have been contending with a court case, which took me out of action for 2 weeks, and I've also had an awful bug, but I'm back, and it's a brand new season. It's season 8, and we're going to be talking about so many different topics because season 8 is all about trust, surrender, getting out of your own way and reconnecting with what actually matters. And I want to talk about mediumship in even more detail because trust is something that I tell you what, well, firstly, actually, I'm trying to evermore trust the spirit world because I know that they are so much more intelligent than down here, but I'm wrestling with the ego at times, Soul Sync, just like the rest of you can be. So there's some beautiful interviews, I will say, in this season, and I have been, honestly, having so many interesting ideas of things I want to talk about, but I've let the inner editor in my head get the better of me to think, well, actually, you know, perfectionism, it's a problem, and even for me too, because sometimes I want to get an episode just so perfect, and actually the inner editor in my head stops me actually saying anything. So I'm back, I'm talking, I'm here, I'm ready to listen to all of your spiritual questions and life woes, and it's lovely to be back. So this episode is a short catch-up, and then we're going to get stuck back into it. Welcome. Hello to you, my darling listener. It's me, Jason Paul, and you're listening to the Soul Sync podcast. And firstly, it's an absolute delight to have you here with me. And for you avid listeners that listen in regularly, you're probably going to be wondering, where the bloody hell have I been for the last few weeks? Well, I'll tell you. Firstly, I was very unwell with a sickness bug, and that took me out of action for a week. Then I had a court case, which I've been absorbed in for a good number of weeks on the run up to the court case, and it's something that's just been dragging on for weeks, where I had to give evidence, and that ended up being a whole load of nonsense. So that took me out for another week, and then you'll be excited to hear, my dear listener, I have been on a mediumship week as well. And I've been really excited because I've done that thing as well where I've got a bit of imposter syndrome, and that's probably added into part of why I haven't done an episode, because there's a lot of things that I've been thinking I want to do with the Soul Sync. And you know, sometimes in life where you're just struggling to get that oomph, or you're sort of doubting yourself, and lots of you listening to this might be thinking, you, Jason Paul, doubting yourself? That doesn't sound like you. But that's kind of fed into things as well, because and it was when I was on a course recently at the Arthur Findlay College. I went on Eileen Davis's week in March, and it was a prophecy week, which is a really interesting aspect of mediumship, and a side of mediumship that I'd never really had I'd had some exposure to. Prophecy is when the spirit world obviously make predictions and kind of talk about the future, and it was quite funny this week. So I went along with Eileen, and I must say the weeks running up to the course, as they always seem to be in my hurricane of a busy life, especially with all things work, have just kind of taken up so much of my time. And my business in the last year has just been so stressful, and I've been sort of fighting an internal tug of war because my business at times has gone, massively. It's gone really, really, really well. And considering I just started it with my savings, I started a legal recruitment agency with my savings. I grew that to be a multi-million-pound business. But in the last year, it's just been a really tricky time. And I can't quite put my finger on why that is. I think part of it is market conditions. Part of it is the state of the economy, the world, and the cost of living pressure. And working in recruitment, we want a market that is absolutely bustling, lots of corporate deals, lots of property transactions. That's a really good market for us. And in the last year, it's just been really difficult. And, you know, I think a lot of people, and I probably would have done when I was in my early 20s, you look at someone who owns a business and you think, oh, it's all sunshine and rainbows. It's all, you know, good to be. And I'm really grateful. Don't get me wrong. I'm so grateful for everything I've got, but it's really tested me in a lot of ways. And I think with, you know, my dad passing away at the end of last year, that rolled in with the challenges of this year. And I just felt I'm one of these people that I know I was put on this planet to help people in every way possible. And, you know, I really go heaven and earth to be a force of thunder to help people in my life who are struggling with things. And I think, you know, a big part of my character, I kind of look at this as my granddad having passed this down to me. He's definitely passed me that strength for character, because he would just solve everyone's problems out. We'd all go to him with our problems, our legal woes, things that are going on in our life. And he just used to be so great at sorting them. So since my dad went away, my brother's had a very challenging few years, a really challenging few years, actually. He's been through the mincemeat machine, and really difficult to watch someone that you love going through such a difficult time, especially like my brother is. He's the kindest soul in the world. So I went on to this prophecy week, and it was funny, some of the things that came up. My nan came through to tell me that, and this has been prophesied actually a few weeks before the course, but apparently I'm going to have a new love come into my life, a new man, which is going to be very exciting, because I have been wanting to manifest a relationship for a long old time now. But I do think I've definitely got some kind of block when it comes to relationships, because I just believe it's not going to happen, or, you know, maybe it's just not meant to be for me. And I know that's such a pessimistic way of looking at it. And in so many other areas of my life, you know, I understand what it takes to kind of manifest things, to kind of put that out with good vibration, good intent, and to kind of get that back. But, you know, sometimes what stops us from manifesting is, you know, a block that we have ourselves. You know, for instance, like this, I want to find a nice partner, but deep down within me, I don't fully believe it. Well, let me tell you this, Soul Sync. My nan made that absolutely perfectly clear on the week where I'm away. She came through to say, not only would I find a man, I would find a very nice man, very different to myself. But what I need to do, and she told me this all in good humour, my nan, bless her, she said to me that I need to let them see the softer side of me. I need to not go rushing in so much. I need to just take my time with it to find out about them. And it wasn't just my nan that came through with this, it was my granddad as well. It was another family member. So I think I had 5 predictions about this relationship and lots of advice, and it was just funny the way it came through. So, you know, the course taught me a lot as well, because where am I up to with my mediumship? Well, I know that I need to sit for spirit more, firstly. That's an ever ongoing thing that I know I need to sit more often, and I'm trying to really incorporate that into my routine. I think a big part of why I haven't really done a podcast recently is because I've been so hard on myself in recent times. You know, even when I had this break from the podcast, I was almost saying to myself, I should be doing this and I should be doing that and I should be getting this out. And it really made me think a lot as well about just how hard on ourselves we can be at times. And it's just such the wrong way to go about things. And I think that when I look back at my business and the success that I had when I built it, even in the early days, a lot of that really came about as a result of being so hard on myself, holding myself to really high, punishingly hard standards. And that's another behaviour that I am trying to, you know, work on, like we all are. We all have things that we need to address in our lives. And mine is being kinder to myself. And, you know, I'm a lot kinder to myself these days than I was. And I think my mediumship really helps me with that. But I've definitely still got a way to go. So, you know, I'm coming at this podcast, this new season 8 Soul Sync, with an air of being kind to myself, but also wanting to talk as authentically as possible about some of the struggles that I've had in my life in recent times, because I actually think they're struggles a lot of us have, and, you know, how they have an impact on my mediumship. But, you know, not just that, but my life generally. So there's going to be a lot to unpack in this season 8, and I'm really excited because, so many people actually, when I was at the college, came up to me to say that they listened to the podcast and it helps them, which has really inspired me to want to get back on with things, because I'm never going to give up with this podcast, and I will do it till the very end because I believe in it. I believe in the podcast more than I believe in myself at times, Soul Sync, but there we go. So I went on this course. It was good for me because I really do, like I've said, in recent times, my mediumship has kind of unfolded, and the mission I'm on at the moment is to ever more step into that power and to fully trust the spirit world. And it did make me reflect the week that I had about trust and about the role of trust in general, because once you go on this journey of mediumship, and my journey was obviously wanting to know that life after death was actually a thing, it was actually real. So I spent a lot of time searching for that proof, and once I got that proof, it's okay, now I know life is eternal, and I know that all of this is just a illusion, birth and death, we continue as we are, and it's what do you do with that? And it's about stepping into your life as authentically as possible, living, being the person that you truly, truly are. And I'm really starting to just ever more discover who the real Jason is. And, who is the real Jason? He's a kind old fellow with a kind heart, and who uses humour to try and lift the vibration and bring joy about. And, we've done a lot of exercises on the week when I was away, of sitting with our own spirit, and exercises designed even to bring about trust. And it made me realise that I do trust the spirit world, and it is an ever ongoing kind of thought process. And this week tested me a lot, because sometimes it's made me look at my own mediumship and realise that sometimes I don't necessarily always trust myself. And actually the first step to trusting the spirit world is to trust oneself, Soul Sync. So I spent a lot of time really sort of digging deep into that in the week, and we did lots of really interesting experiments on the Eileen week, where we had blindfolds out and doing readings, not knowing the person in front of you. And I must say, I actually find it a hell of a lot easier to actually do readings with a blindfold. I tend to find that actually my mediumship tends to unfold very naturally when there's a blindfold on, because I do find that a lot of my attention often gets taken by the reactions of the sitter, and I am trying ever more not to sort of get too absorbed by the sitter, make too much eye contact with the sitter. I try and just fix my gaze sort of as somewhere else, not because I'm rude and I don't want to look at the person, but because, I want to try and keep my attention, and I want not even to try, I don't want to use that word try, because trying creates resistance, but I want to just flow with the spirit world. And it can be very helpful for me to not, make too much eye contact and to fix my gaze in another place. It just helps me to stay in the energy, in the power of the spirit world. So we didn't only do things with blindfolds, we also did an experiment which was fascinating, whereby a chair was placed in the centre of the circle. Someone would go out of the room, the medium, and a sitter would come and sit in the chair for a few seconds and then go sit back in the circle. And then the idea was the medium would come in and connect with a communicator for the person that was in the chair. Now, I was selected to be the first person. I came in unknowingly. Normally, I always know when I'm going to get picked, because I can feel it before. And sometimes I'm really silly as well. In the past, I've almost got the feeling knowing I'm going to be picked, and then in true Jason style, kind of almost gone, oh God, I'm sure I won't be. And then I am, when I could have been using that time very wisely to get myself in the right space, so to speak. So I was taken up. I managed to get a communicator who came straight through, but it turned out that Eileen was going to sit in the chair, the tutor, and then at the very last minute, someone else, a man, came and sat in the chair. And actually, my communicator was for the original person. And actually, it worked every single time. When every single medium went up, it would work in a true form. A communicator would come through that person understood. And it just really made me think about just how clever the spirit world are. And it often makes me think, because I had such a beautiful message come through from my granddad, and even the medium who brought it through was the very personality and person I feel that my granddad would have gravitated to most. And it coming through that person with the way that she would talk, the medium, and the beautiful way that she would articulate her words. She was very big on language, this medium, so much so actually I spoke to her a few days after the course, and I was saying to her, I really want to get better. Nicola was her name. I really want to get better at, getting out my head. And she said to me, Jason, if you want that, I'll give you a very simple experiment. I said, go for it. And she said, I want you to ban yourself from using the word think for 2 weeks. You can feel, you can know, but you cannot think. And I've broken it just now because I'm in the 2 weeks and I'm saying it. But it's something that I'm really trying to live by, actually, because there's something really in that. Even the practice of trying to sort of vacate that word from one's vocabulary is very powerful, because I'm trying to use it myself rather than thinking things now, even decisions, what I want to do with work or whatever. I'm just trying to feel it. So that's a journey that I'm going on. And I did some really beautiful pieces of mediumship in the week. I still am finding that evidence does go up to my mind default. And, I do find that my mind tries to place it, but I do find that I'm definitely getting into better flow and finding that it's happened less. So on this new season of Soul Sync, I'm going to be doing some practical exercises with you and episodes designed to help you, because so many of you lovely souls get in touch to ask me questions about mediumship, and I'm going to tell you it absolutely 100% straight on what you need to do in order to make a connection, how mediumship unfolds, and it's all going to be through my own lived experience. And like I do say on this podcast, I always encourage you to take what resonates with you, but, not surrender your power. Go with what you feel and take what resonates and just leave the rest at the door. So, yes, I want to be talking about trust as well. And, what does total trust look like? And there's a very interesting episode coming up with a lovely medium even called Natalie. And she's going to be talking a lot about trust and surrender and what it really looks like when you're living in that real flow of authenticity, being truly who you are, and the work that goes into sort of making that discovery. We're also going to be talking about things on this series like the Akashic Records. We're going to be doing more episodes with Christine Morgan as well on the Art of Mediumship curriculum. Also, in terms of mediumship, I also wanted to talk in this season as well about symbology and my experiences of how the spirit worlds are communicating through me in readings. I did some absolutely mind-blowing readings, and they really were mind-blowing when I was at the college. So I'm excited to delve deeper into those over the course of this series. But I'm back. I'm not hiding under a rock anymore. I'm here, Soul Sync, and I just want to say it's a privilege, as it always is, to be able to talk to you directly, and I'm going to try and help you as much as I possibly can. But I'm back. It's great to be back, and I welcome you very much to this new season 8.